Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Glad to be back for another segment of Stronger and Better. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful morning. We're about to get started here and have a great session on relationship rehab part 2. So get ready to give your comments, bring us your questions, and let us know what's going on in your life in terms of relationships and how you're dealing with them. We want you to interact with us. We want you to come on the air. We want you to give us your questions. So even as you're coming on this morning, please say good morning to us. Let us know that you're here. We're gonna have another session with my brother, Pastor LeBaron out of Meridian, Mississippi, and I'm excited to have him on. We have some great conversations together. If you missed the last relationship rehab, please make sure you go back in the feed and check out the previous conversation that we had. Please, on the screen, you'll see my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. Make sure that you are staying with us and make sure that you are linked into everything that we're doing. Like I said, we're going to have some exciting things coming up in the near future that we're planning. So please join us. Let's see who's on. Hey, I got my aunt on here this morning. Good morning, Auntie. What's going on? I love you down there. Good morning, Robin. Good to see you this morning. Y'all say good morning to me this morning. Good morning, Heather. What's going on? Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thursday. Miss Kelly, what's going on? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you. Good morning. We got people coming in. I see. Make sure that you're doing a watch party. Make sure that you're sharing this. Make sure you're letting people know that we're on today. I'm shaking the camera. Y'all forgive me. But I want to go ahead and get started in a minute. Good morning, Ann. How you doing this morning? Good morning, Miss Kelly. Good morning, MJ. What's going on, Malika? What's the deal? Good morning. Y'all, it's good to see everybody this morning. Good morning, Trish. What's going on? Good to see you. I see my girl Azinia is on here. Good morning to you guys. Glad to see everybody coming in. Mr. Green, what's going on? Good to see you this morning. So as people are coming in, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to bring my brother online. What's up, man? What's going on? How you doing, LeBaron? Uh-oh.
Hey, I'm
Hopefully
doing pretty good,
he can
man.
hear us in
I'm
the
good.
That's good, man. Glad
Can
to
you hear
have you
me?
here with us today. Yeah, we can hear you. As you see, LeBaron's on the road, but we still going to have some road conversation today.
Yeah, I'm almost where I need to be, but happy Thursday to everybody. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to everybody. We still got people coming in, so we're going to give them a little second. Good morning, Miss Green. Please, like I said, please do a watch party. We got a certain topic, relationship rehab part 2. We're going to be talking about some good stuff, some good conversation surrounding relationship. Like again, if you missed the last one, please make sure you go back to our previous feed. You'll see a link that's sitting on the website. And as always, we want you to join us. I'm putting up a link now. Please join us live. If you have any questions, any comments, if you want to make some or state your thoughts about what we're talking about, please join us live. If you have private questions, contact me at 860-946-0523, and you can text me privately, and I will put the questions on the table. But it is a wonderful day today. Look like it's beautiful down there where you are, man.
Man, it's sunny. Thank God. In
Thank
spite
God.
of the hurricane tropical, we had a little rain, but things are cleared up now.
That's good, man. I know it's been getting a little cool here in the Connecticut area, man. But it was in the 50s this week, man.
Wow.
Yeah, but we're getting it together, man. As you go in, like I said, people are still coming on. Glad to have everybody with us today. I'm gonna just let Pastor LeBaron settle down, but we're gonna jump right into the conversation about relationships and how we need
30
to be
seconds.
creating relationships and dealing with relationships. Good morning, Miss Robin. Good to see you this morning. Haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you. Good morning, Mr. Dr. Powell. Grant Powell. Good to see you on today. So please, in the comment section, if you have any questions, please inbox your questions to me, and we will be able to answer your questions live. So let me know when you settle, LeBaron. You good?
Oh yeah. Hold on just a second.
So once he settled down, we're gonna get right into this. And good morning, Miss Walker. What's going on? Hopefully everything's well with you down south there. Yeah. But it's great to see everybody together. Happy Thursday, everybody. And we're about to jump right into this conversation. Can you hear me clear?
Oh yeah.
So I was having a conversation the other day, and I think it's a kind of cool way that we jump into talking about relationships and relationship rehab. About they are entering into a new relationship.
Okay.
And you know, this whole new thing about entanglements,
Yeah.
and and definitions of it, entanglements, and how do you accept the past relationships that kind of come along with the person, and really talking about how we should really analyze those relationships. What relationships do we need to bring with us, and what relationships do we need to drop? So that's the way I want to start our conversation on today.
Man, that's deep. That's serious. I like the way they spoke to the idea of relationships being a factor in new relationships. Relationship is a factor in new relationships. You know, I try to say this. There are times when certain relationships don't necessarily have to be castrated from the person, disconnected.
Yeah.
There are times when, you know, those relationships requires new boundaries, new standards due to what is evolved in life. Development brings about change. And so, especially if it's somebody who was an ex or somebody you dated at one time and things of that sort, it doesn't mean that y'all can't be friends or y'all can't have any interactions or dealings. But it does say that those relationships need boundaries based upon your involvement with someone else at this point. Now, I want to say this. One of the things I think that is misunderstood, and we really need to stop saying it. You know, we say we don't want to be in a relationship with anyone who has baggage.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody got baggage.
Travel far without.
That's right.
The truth of the matter is, man, you know, there's a difference between baggage and there's a difference between issues. Now, I understand, you know, that issues come as a result of things that happen in life that maybe didn't go well or maybe scarred us, things we had to heal from. But, you know, baggage speaks to, you know, the way in which I look at certain things, the way in which, and sometimes, you know, that's a part of the inner workings of that person. That person is wired that way.
Yeah.
And so we come to a relationship with understanding, hey, I don't want to proceed forward. You know, you have too much baggage. She has too much baggage. We really need to redefine that, because a lot of times I've discovered that what we're calling baggage is imperfection. And you're not going to find anyone who doesn't have imperfections. And so I think that's important, Leroy. And in speaking to
So,
what
let me say something. Can we go back on that, because I think what is carrying the worn baggage, or the baggage that weighs us down, and I think that's when the problem comes, when you're holding on to baggage that limits your future,
yeah,
or stomps your future, and I think that's when you have to analyze that baggage.
that's true. And I think semantics is important. You know, when
Yeah.
we use words, when you're in a relationship, you got to make sure that there's a understanding of what you mean when you say certain words, you know, because to
Yeah.
me, even in our dialogue here, issue speaks to me as something that's very weighted. We have to work through issues, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
onto issues and be a blessing to somebody else. But baggage, I look at, you know, as it relates to what I'm carrying or what comes with me, is what I would like to say, is
Yeah.
a collection of my upbringing, a collection of my parenting, a collection of my, you know, encounters in life, my personality. And
Yeah.
those things are part of that person. But you're right. Now, when you're talking about baggage in relation to the weightedness of it, those are kind of issues, things that we don't like to change, things that we don't want to get better at. Those things can become a burden to
Yeah.
to the other person. And what's so sad is that most of the times, due to our own dysfunction, it is a burden to us, but we've learned to adjust to it and see it as functional. And when you bring it else in your life, they like, whoa,
Right. This ain't right. Yeah.
you pay your bills 2 months late on
Yeah.
purpose. Oh
Yeah.
no, you know,
Yeah.
no, that's not the way we don't have. You mean you've had 5 jobs in the last 6 months? No, that's not functional. And so
Yeah.
we have to be open to people having the liberty to at least raise the awareness of weight as relates to could be factors of old relationships that could affect this new relationship.
Well, let's talk about that because when we talk about relationship rehab, right?
Yeah,
And when I think of relationship rehab, I have to think about myself. And the reason I say think about myself, I think about myself is what things do I need to change or what things do I need to be more aware about in order for me to have a better relationship with anybody or anything that I'm doing. So, what kind of things do you think that we should be doing in terms of relationships or the rehab process in order to better ourselves?
I'm glad you asked that. One of the things very much so important is that we have to become very uh, repetitive and routine in our honesty with
Yeah,
our. I think rehab requires honesty. Rehab requires, I'm going to say something here, self transparency. It's hard
absolutely. Yeah,
to do yourself. I mean, you think about it.
yeah,
I'm addicted, and I
yeah,
keep telling myself, I don't have no addictions, even though I've done this particular thing 3 times a day. I wake up thinking about it, I go to bed thinking about it. I've lost stuff as a result of it, but I
yeah,
keep telling
yeah,
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem.
yeah,
In order to rehab a relationship, in order to have you have to be willing to be self transparency is so important. And sometimes, it's hurtful because a lot of times it brings about the revisit of who's responsible. But you don't just dwell on it to the degree where you allow it to depress you. But you got to keep in mind, I'm getting better. And I got to keep this thing before me in order to get better. So I think if we're rehabbing, there has to be self transparency. The mirror needs to be a part of our everyday.
yeah.
I like to say it this way. A lot of times we like to get the microscope because we want to look at everybody else.
Everybody else, right?
But really, we need a mirror, so that we can look at ourselves. I think that's so important to rehab that. Secondly, I think it is very important also when you're trying to have a relationship rehab to take in consideration maybe some things that have been brought to our attention over and over and over. If my siblings say I don't listen, if my coach say I don't listen, if my parents say
I
I
know this.
say I don't listen, a part of rehabbing is looking at all of these repetitive familiar messages
Yeah,
that here. And it leads me to this third thing that's so important when you're talking about relationship rehab, me getting ready to be a blessing or to be a healthy
yeah,
connection to
yeah,
a person. Relationship is two people connecting. I want to be a healthy connection. Okay. And so it's amazing, Leroy. The other day, uh, I went and bought some bananas, and
right.
we have a banana basket that sits on the counter at our home.
Yeah,
There was 2 bananas prior that was left over.
yeah,
So I was realizing our bananas were getting low. I was going to get another. I like to cut bananas up, put them in my
yeah,
cereal.
yeah.
So I put the new bananas by the 2 old bananas in the basket.
Right.
Amazing to me. In 3 days, the new banana who was staying with other new bananas that was touching the old bananas
Wow. Yeah,
began to wear,
yeah.
began to rot, even though the ones connected to it, it was a part of a group that was
Good point.
fresh,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was fresh,
yeah,
but its connection to something that was old or connection to something, I like to look at it this way, that wasn't as healthy.
Yeah.
it began to wear and rotten
Yeah.
the good banana. And likewise in relationships, if
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we've got to work through those things that are not healthy. And this is what I've discovered, even in myself at times. And I got to be transparent in this. This is one of the things I had to work on and I had to get better at. I've discovered that a lot of times we refuse to hear
Hmm.
criticism with the same energy we love to hear compliments.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
And so I've got to give the same energy, the same insight, the same carefulness that
Yeah.
I give to every compliment I receive,
Yeah.
to also every critique that I receive.
Yeah.
And if we're willing to give just consideration, I'm not saying you got to agree out of the box, but give consideration to some of the criticism that we hear that's being brought to our attention from people that we know mean us well. And we know that there's fruit to support the things that they're bringing to our attention. We're well on our way to rehabbing.
Yeah.
That's where we are to get stronger and
Yeah,
better.
that's it. And I want to throw out there too. I think it's important that I didn't realize, and I've been through it even in my life, being divorced and some of the other things, um, how important counseling is.
Oh, yes.
And really being able to reflect on yourself and about the things that people might be saying about you, and how you have to look into the mirror and really change how you're operating in order for you to get stronger and better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think counseling is key. And a lot of people stray away from it. They automatically think, if you're going through counseling, I must be crazy, or y'all not going to say I'm crazy, this and that. No, 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 no.
That
Counseling,
is that
yeah,
is such that is such an unhealthy cultural. It's a cultural, to me, um, disease in regards to, in many instances, especially you have to know your culture in the African American community. We look at counseling as something taboo. If you go into counseling, oh man, you finna snap,
you're
or
right. Too much for you.
your parents abuse you, and
Yeah,
all of these things. When truthfully, counseling is scriptural, first of all, and then secondly, counseling is necessary, because the truth of the matter is, some of us, all of us, all of us at times can do what the Bible warns us not to do, lean to our own understanding, meaning self-interpretation. We can interpret everything that has happened in our life, and we can be a victim to everything and never responsible for nothing. We
yeah,
have a tendency, we have a human tendency to not take blame, to not be responsible. And then there are other times, on the other flip of that coin, there are times we have a tendency to blame ourselves for everything,
right.
when some things were not our responsibility. And so I like counseling, because counseling helps shape our beliefs. Sometimes not just our beliefs as it relates to God, but our beliefs in regards to ourselves. And
Yeah,
then counseling helps us with our behaviors. So you
yeah,
got beliefs, then you got behaviors.
yeah,
And this one is just so powerful.
yeah,
We need counseling when we're trying to do the relationship component of life, because counseling help us identify blind spots.
yeah,
So you got beliefs, you got behaviors, then you got blind spots.
yeah,
There's some things that we need to see that we can't see, that counseling illuminates to us. It highlights these things. We have what I call those epiphanies, those aha moments.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
now I see.
I see.
And so when we don't have counseling, I heard something one time so powerful. It says, "What does not what doesn't what you don't know does not exist." So until you are informed of something, you don't even know that exists.
Yeah,
Just like forgiveness, until you're informed of forgiveness and how to forgive, then forgiveness doesn't even exist in your world.
yeah,
All you know is to walk in unforgiveness. So counseling helps us, again, with our beliefs, with our behaviors, and also our blind spots.
yeah. I think that's
And
important.
I go to counseling. I
Yeah,
mean, hey, I call your dad. I call your dad sometime. I need
Yeah,
this. Seriously. And,
absolutely.
and I want to say something to this. There's sometimes even in my life where, the my grandmother passed this year, and she was so dear to me. I mean, very, very close. And I had to go to counseling even there. I had my grandmother pass, this pandemic, and so I even a professional therapist I even went to, and that doesn't mean you're crazy. So
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm
yeah,
glad you brought that up because there's nothing wrong with going to counseling.
yeah.
It's
And I,
not.
I believe that. And sometimes it's like you said, we don't know some of the things that we bear. It's those blind things that come and kill us
Yes,
on the inside, and we can't figure out why we act the way we act, why we doing the things we're doing. And sometimes we need people who are not associated with, who are not judgmental,
yes.
share those things with us or enlighten us and some of the things that's going on.
That
And
is so powerful,
those,
man.
those, those deep, deep parts of us that need to be expressed.
Yes, yes. And
And
the deeper things are within us, the darker they are.
yes, yes,
And
yes,
so counseling brings light to dark places.
that's true. That's
The
true.
lighter things are in life, the greater our understanding of them.
Yes,
And so, how do I go from being in a deep, dark place to getting light and understanding to that place? Sometimes it's through those kinds of conversations. I never forget, I went to counseling one time due to a relationship issue that wasn't it was a family issue,
yeah,
and it was amazing. I heard this and I never forgot it. And I was given a book to read and some modules to look at, and it stuck with me. And it said that every human has the tendency, when you spoke to just a minute ago about those bearings,
yeah,
things can get so heavy that in your bearing that you become what is called overwhelmed.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
this is amazing. This is amazing because what the enemy does, he overwhelms us so he can overtake us.
yeah,
He never overtake you without first overwhelming you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes in relationships, we got to have this kind of conversation so we can recognize when even the person we are in relationship with
yeah, yeah,
needs rehab.
yeah, 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 yeah.
They're
But
overwhelmed. And so they're saying little things, there are signs, there are all kind of red alerts that are subtle that if we don't catch, that overwhelm leads to being overtaken. But I discovered all of us have what is called a susceptibility line.
mm,
And when you fall below that susceptibility line due to weight, you get lower and lower. The more you overwhelm, when you fall below that susceptibility line, you can take on behaviors,
yeah,
beliefs that are against even your own desire and will. You
mm,
become a different person. It's like being addicted. And you become an addict. You're like, wow, they were so smart. They were so on top of things. How did they fall to this? We see this even with actors and stuff. They're finding people from overdoses, and people who have just given
yeah,
up their careers and all this kind of have lost all of their fortunes. And you're like, how did they do that? They fell below the susceptibility line. And
mm,
this comes
yeah,
from being overwhelmed. They became overtaken. And rehab helps us be able to prevent that for ourselves and recognize that in people in whom we're doing relationships with.
well, let me throw this out there. Even with the acceptability line,
Yeah.
do you believe that the susceptibility line is developed within our environments or our past, um, or maybe the way we were raised, our standards? How do we develop that acceptability line?
Yeah, I think the susceptibility line is created from your beliefs, your core values, your morals. Now, true enough, environments can be a factor in that. Childhood can be a factor in
Yeah,
that. Parenting, mentors can be a factor in that.
yeah,
And so that changes based upon the individual. But there's a line where you say, you know what, I'm never going to do this or I'll never do that. I'm creating a line.
yeah,
This is beneath me. That is beneath me. That behavior is beneath me. That response is beneath me. That form of thinking is beneath me. And so that's your susceptibility line. And
yeah,
whenever you're overwhelmed and become overtaken, you fall below what you had already identified was beneath you. And when we are below that susceptibility line, we are very little benefit to others and to relationships. We really are in a danger zone. We need help. We need therapy. We need comfort. We need assistance. We need attention. And we have to be willing to voice those things. Another thing that happens that an impediment, something that impedes the rehab to relationships, is this what I call human error in thinking. And
Mm.
it's a human error. It can be corrected. Oftentimes, people expect other people to be like a psychic, to have
Yeah,
telepathy. We
yeah.
expect people
You should have
to
knew.
know,
You should have knew.
Oh, you didn't know I had a
Right,
bad day at work?
right.
I came. You didn't know
Yeah,
that this month was the 16th anniversary of when I got cut from the
yeah.
cheerleader team? You mean to tell me you didn't know
You
that
should have
this
knew.
morning coffee was waste on my way to work? I'm expecting my wife to then, so
Yeah,
we go too far with that.
yeah,
And that comes, and that's an impediment to rehab, because we would rather someone discern what we don't want to disclose.
yeah,
And that's too much pressure on a spouse, a business partner, a sibling, a parent, a child. We
yeah,
have to open up and talk.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so now you feel some kind of way towards someone because they didn't read your frequency,
Mm,
when really it wasn't to be read, it was to be heard.
that's right. That's right. That's good. And that brings us back to even relationships and communication, how important communication is. And to be able to express yourself, well, not only express yourself, learn yourself and learn how to express yourself of what you're going through and even your vulnerability
Yes,
in relationship. And
yes,
it's important for people to realize too, we in a relationship and in the rehab process, you have to be willing to be vulnerable.
yes,
You have to be.
yes. I think, Leroy, I'm just not think, I believe
Yeah.
anyone you're going into a relationship with who cannot be vulnerable to you, and you're going into a relationship with him, is someone you shouldn't trust.
Yeah, yeah,
Vulnerability,
yeah.
vulnerability creates intimacy,
Mm,
and intimacy leads to trust.
yeah,
So, don't just tell me all of these impressive things I can read on your LinkedIn.
yeah,
Let me know the things that maybe you're not so proud about, or that you're working on,
yeah,
that vulnerability. You're right. And be careful of people who don't want to be vulnerable. Usually that's a trust issue, that's a wall there.
yeah.
And if you're not careful, you will enter into a relationship based off of pretense, not based off of reality.
Well, let me ask you that. Now, do you think people in this day compromise in terms of being in relationships? They know it's not right. They know it's not healthy for them just to have relationships.
Oh, most definitely. We live in a selfish
Yeah,
society. People will compromise their standards, their belief.
yeah.
People will compromise their happiness. Let me say it this way: people will tolerate you and not appreciate you just to not be alone.
You need to say that again.
People will tolerate you
Yeah,
and not appreciate you
yeah.
just to not be alone.
Because that's
Only,
yeah,
only,
yeah.
only to be waiting in inventory for a what they believe to be an upgrade from
We'll
you.
be back. Yeah,
And
yeah,
you've invested this time, you've
yeah,
invested all kinds of sacrifices. You've had moments where you felt you were going somewhere, and they just don't want to be alone, and they're just waiting on the next upgrade. And
yeah,
so you have to be able to test people. You have to know how to vet people.
yeah,
Not only prayer is a component to that, but you got to watch people's actions and things, watch their levels of commitments, and learn their behaviors, and ask the right questions. Don't ever just settle for what people voluntarily share.
yeah.
You got to be willing to inquire You got to
Yeah.
be willing to inquire because people will use you just to get through or get by.
Yeah. You become a placeholder.
Yes.
And as a placeholder, I was talking to somebody too. As a placeholder, we were talking about that people kind of take certain pieces from each individual as placeholders because they can't get the whole person in the relationship.
Mhm.
So they compromise and they wait until that real person or that relationship comes that they truly need. We have to be careful not to allow ourselves to become placeholders in people's lives.
Yes, man. We have to be honest. We have to challenge people to honest. And I think again, that comes from asking those right questions. You got to be willing to ask people, and to not
Yeah,
assume. And that's something, we had talked about. One of the dangers to relationships is assumption. It's hard to rehab a relationship assuming. I like to say this: assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. It's
yeah,
the lowest form. It's the bottom of the levels of knowledge. What I think or what I thought you
yeah,
know, don't assume. Don't assume that someone is committed to you. Don't
yeah,
assume that someone wants to grow old with you.
yeah,
Don't assume that somebody wants to sacrifice with you until you get to where you're trying to go. They're willing to wait 2 years living at this level until you can finish a certification or finish building or laying a foundation. Don't assume that.
yeah,
And make people tell you that. And that comes from being willing to ask hard questions. You can't walk together unless you agree. We can't without conversation and conversations that are not just based off of what you voluntarily share, but even what I inquire.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's that's good.
that's a good point you just raised there. Very good point.
That's good. So Azenia had a question. Is there any a scripture to meditate on to improve introspection?
Um, there's a couple that comes to mind that validates it. I'm trying to see one that yes, James chapter 1. And particularly, I would recommend the amplified version. I want to get that for him. Just a second.
All right. Please, as he's getting the scripture, please, if you have any questions, make sure that you put them in the comments. And if you want to interact with us, please, there's a link on the page if you want to join us live just to have conversation. Um,
Yes.
join us. But go ahead.
Her name Alzina.
Azenia, yeah.
Alzina. Okay, we want to answer your question. Alzina, if I was you, I would look at James chapter 1, verse number 4, amplified. If you read the amplified version, it says, "But let endurance and steadfastness and patience have," listen to this, "full play and do a thorough work, so that you may be people perfect and fully developed," hear this, "with no defects, lacking in nothing." And so that's the scripture I would meditate on, that I'm gonna allow patience to develop me. I'm gonna allow God and the things he's using in life to perfect me so that within I can be someone with no defects.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm aspiring for. I want to be a no defect individual. I want to come to the relationship as a healthy connection. So James 1 and 4, I think, would be a great one.
Oh, that's good. So I did have another question came across. It says, "Good morning. I'm watching your live stream and just have a question about trust and a new relationship. In my old relationship, I was cheated on, which causes me to have trust issues.
Yeah.
Now I'm in a new relationship and I'm having trouble trusting this new girl to the point where even she points it out. How do I get over that?"
Truth of the matter is, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think there is an individual that can speed up the process of growing or regaining trust after having been cheated on. That's really not a reflection of the person you're with. But I will say this: it is something that you want to overcome so that you can give this new person the rightful opportunity that they deserve, so that the prior situation does not influence,
Mm.
because if it influences this relationship, this new relationship, it will eventually govern this relationship. So one of the things that will help you, and I've oftentimes, having been a pastor and counsel people often, infidelity happens at times during the dating process, sometimes after the marital process. But I would say, if it was me, recognize, I not only pray for God to help me, but I would self-consciously recognize those moments and methods of insecurity.
Mm.
So if she's saying, hey, she's going to the store and then she's going to get her nails done, if she's been gone 10 minutes and I'm tempted to FaceTime her to make sure she's at the store, I'm gonna catch myself. And I think as you begin to manage those moments where insecurity wants to influence your new relationship, you'll eventually begin to regain a trust behavior versus a distrusting behavior. But I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really not something that can just happen with a snap of a finger. It's more of a intentionality thing. It's something you got to be intentional about doing. And sometimes if that thing is so deep, depending on how fresh that hurt is, it wouldn't be good to even watch shows where infidelity and movie is taking place.
Yeah.
Until your wound gets more as healing is flowing into it. You don't want to remind that anything that's associated with that, I would disregard from that relationship or from that situation, because it's only reminding you of that. But catch yourself in those moments so that the prior issue of infidelity will not be a influencer, so that it doesn't become a governor of your new relationship.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I was sitting here thinking, what kind of intentional things could you do to make sure that you are not bringing in bad habits into a relationship?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'll without question, talk to yourself.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a firm believer that talking to yourself is not a indicator of insanity, but more so of intelligence.
yeah,
And the more, I feel like the Bible is one of the greatest resources available to man. And throughout it, there's so many wise, incredible people we can aspire to be like that talked to themselves.
yeah,
And so I think that that's very healthy. Job talked to himself. David talked to himself. The woman with the issue of blood talked to herself. There's throughout scripture the practice of talking to yourself. And when you are wanting to be intentional about not bringing those old wounds, old scars, those old methods and games into this new relationship. So I'm testing this person really based off of games that was created out of the wound from the old person, the hurt from the old person. So you got to talk to yourself. Say, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not necessary. Don't do that. And that's, and the truth of the matter, that's what sometimes we just got to tell ourselves, stop.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think it's good behavior or habits to uh overemphasize things that would cause the person that you get into a relationship to trust you more?
I think over a period of time, it makes you unattractive.
Yeah,
It will. It'll make you unattractive because if you made your point of something that is very important to you in a relationship, and I've understood that, I've communicated back to you what you said, I got it, and we've talked about it before. If you're going to continue to talk about that every week, then, you know, to the person who's not responsible for that, but who's willing to love you
yeah,
and grow with you beyond that, it then becomes very taxing, because it's just like Leroy, you're in Connecticut. It's just like every week, I'm asking you about something that happened here in Mississippi.
yeah,
Every week I'm calling you. Did you know in Jackson, Mississippi?
yeah,
You didn't know that? And you're like, Mississippi. I'm not in Mississippi.
Right.
That's so
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna stop answering the phone.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that things that's not really relatable to that person, we don't want to have overkill. And I think once you stated something once or twice, that should be enough. That should be enough. You got to catch yourself in those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
People shouldn't have to tell you every day, 10 times a day, that they love you. That's coming from somewhere else, and it makes you unattractive. It makes you unattractive.
I agree. I agree. So, we only got about 20 minutes left or so, but what are key indicators of a good relationship?
I think we was breaking up. I didn't hear the question. What was it again?
I was saying, so what are key indicators of a good relationship that
Oh,
we,
that's a great question.
that we should be
Um,
embarking?
yeah, okay. Key indicators or signs of a great relationship.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, personal self-worth. Okay, because it's important that you have self-worth. All right, and when you have a relationship where there is individually self-worth, then the responsibility is not placed on the other person to build yours. That's why it's called self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not responsible for someone else's self-esteem. So I think when there is a personal self-worth, that is a great sign of a relationship. When there is a commitment to transparency,
Yeah.
I think that's a great sign, because now there's no pretentiousness. So there's no need to lie, because there's a commitment to being
Yeah.
transparent.
Yeah.
I think when there is another great sign is when there is uh, character and morals, in the person. That's important. That's important. And when you have that in a relationship, you got something you can build on. They don't have to be perfect, but they need to have some morals. You know, Lying, taking advantage of people should bother them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's when you got a good relationship, when someone is concerned. They show compassion. You've seen them empathize. You've seen them cry. You've seen them admit when something is bothering them. That is
Yeah.
a great sign. And then always, and should have been number one, a great relationship is one that is God-centered, where God is first.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
God's got to be first.
Yeah. He he has to be first.
He teaches us how to deal with each other. You
Yeah.
know,
And
It- it-
that's so important. And just in conversation with other people, we were talking about how important it is for God to even lead you into relationships. So often, we develop relationships on our own, then we have problems with the relationship, and then we ask God to fix it. Instead of us asking God, well, who should we be in relationship with? That way, we won't have to deal with those issues that we're going through now.
yes,
So it's so
yes.
important to allow God to lead us in every relationship. We're not just talking about male and female, but we talking about business and your friendships and people that make your nucleus who you are.
And you
And
know what, Pastor Roy, what we're seeing more than ever is people don't know how to hear from God.
yes, yes,
So we're acquiring. We have bucket lists that are
yeah,
often updated, but we don't know how to hear from God.
yeah,
And your ability to hear from God is advantageous to your tenure here in the earth.
yeah, yeah,
And Ananias, God talked to Ananias and said, "You get ready to meet Saul. This is what he's gonna look like. This is what I want you to do."
yeah,
He endorsed the relationship. He told him the purpose for the relationship, and
yeah,
it was a seasonal relationship. He said,
yeah.
"After you get through with this, send him on."
Go on.
But see, when you can hear from God,
Yeah,
God is able to give purpose, and He's able to give perspective
mm,
to the relationships in our life. And I encourage us even the more, if we want to rehab the relationships in our life, if we want to get stronger and better, Let's mature. Let's increase. Let's enhance our capacity to
Yeah.
hear from God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And if God ain't saying nothing, let me say that. If you've been putting this particular name, this particular person before the Lord for some time now, and God has said
no.
nothing, let me tell you what that means.
Break it down, bro.
When
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
answers three ways. Okay, God answers three ways. God sometimes says yes.
Yeah.
God sometimes says no, and God sometimes says not now.
Yeah.
Now I've discovered whenever God says yes, you're gonna hear it and see it,
Yeah.
however you need it.
There's a
When
peace that comes upon you
is a
too.
peace that comes.
Yeah.
When God says not now, He's
Yeah.
going to articulate, He's going to talk, He's going to communicate
Yeah.
that to you. He's
Yeah.
going to help you understand. When God is saying no, it's the only one of the three where God will say something as
Yeah.
in no or
Yeah.
say nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
God's silence is not His consent.
Yeah.
So it's important that we understand that in our hearing from God. Sometimes God isn't saying nothing because He's not in it.
You're not in it. You're not in it. And see, we want it so bad. We're forcing.
Oh man,
We're going through the hell we going through.
we legislate God. We say, God, this is what you gonna do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
marry him anyway. And just because I joined the choir and because we attended the virtual revival, God's gonna bless this. And 6 months later,
Right.
6 months later, you done lost your weight, your hair, and your swag
That's it. You're
because we
right.
didn't hear from God. We forced it.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, and that's so interesting. So something just came across my phone just asking about, second chances and giving people second chances in terms of relationships. And how we should deal with that.
When it comes to second chances, one of the things that's a great skill set individually. It's not a spiritual gift. It is a skill set that you can develop. You can research it, read upon it, practice it. Is the ability to measure risk. I think when you begin to talk about chances, third chances,
Yeah.
another chance, you got to be able to measure the risk. What is at risk? If I give this person another chance, what is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
Based upon the prior chance of what went wrong, how much did that affect me? And that's a personal thing. You've got to be able to measure the risk in giving people additional chances. What can you afford to lose?
Yeah.
Because maybe now at the third chance, the margin for what you're willing to invest is a lot less than what it was at the first chance. And
Yeah.
so that's measuring risk. So you're able to say, if I'm gonna give them another chance, then they have there is no margin for, it's zeros. It's no one strike. I mean, it's one strike. It's not three. And
Yeah.
then there's a different time frame that I'm putting on the situation. So you got to learn how to measure the risk based upon where you are, what it costs you, and then begin to govern or gather, excuse me, is a better word, your standards for this chance. And then as people qualify or meet that, then you continue to gradually, and
Yeah.
people earn through efforts that restore state you was in before there ever was a chance. But I do believe in second, third. I believe in chances. I
Yeah.
do, because in some instances, some things happen in life not necessarily because of the person, but some things happen in life because the situation brought a level of wisdom and understanding to the person. It was necessary for their development, it was necessary for their becoming. It was more so about the lesson than it was the individual. And
Yeah.
so when those encounters happen, then yes, we want to afford you compassionately, forbear you another chance, because we can see God in it. We can see
Yeah.
betterment in it.
Yeah.
You're a stronger and better person as a result of that. In other words, even though I don't like what happened, I like who I have now as
Yeah.
a result of
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah. It
So,
changed.
yeah, I'm not a zero strike guy. I'm not a Sanhedrin council. I believe in chances. However, I believe risk has to be measured as we become a person of another chance or second chance.
Cool. That's great. We got one last question before we go off the air here. From Miss Ernestine, it says, when thinking about society norms, parental wise elders conversations, and the fact you don't want to expedite a new relationship, how do you know when the right time to give your all?
You know, hmm, that's a very, very loaded question.
Yeah,
Um, I will say this. I think whenever you do give your all to a relationship, it's going to always be a step of faith.
mm,
I
uh,
don't think you'll ever have 100% surety, no reservations. I think it's going to always be a step of faith, meaning you're going to feel like you're taking a chance, no matter who it is. But I would not give my all without having the confirmation of God, the endorsement of God. And that's where prayer leads us to entreat God for his agreement. God, I'm feeling like I want to make a commitment to this person wholeheartedly, you know, open everything.
yeah,
I need your agreement, God. I need you, according to Proverbs 16, 1 through 3. I need the answer of the tongue. I need you to sign off on this. And God, until you give me a undeniable knowing, then I'm going to leave this at your feet until I hear from you. And I think God will speak to you. Once God speaks to you, it's still going to be an act of faith. And there's going to be some times where there's going to be some resentment from giving you all. It's a part of life, but you continue to grow through those things, live through those things, love through those things.
that's it. Well, that's a great way for us to wrap this up. I want to thank my brother LeBaron for coming on, and Pastor LeBaron out
Thank
of
you.
Mississippi.
From the sip.
From the sip. I gotta get down.
Hey, man, you got to, man. You know
I
you're
gotta get
always
down.
welcome.
But
Thank you
I
so
love you,
much.
man.
Yes.
Love talking to you always. And please, everyone, thank you for joining us for another segment of Stronger and Better. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure you hit the subscribe button and stay connected. And we're here every Thursday at 11 a.m. for a segment of Stronger and Better. I appreciate everyone. Appreciate you, bro. And let's get together and talk some more.
Always. Thank you for having
We
me.
got to talk
Thank
about
you.
it. All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
Love
All
you,
right.
man.
All
So
right. Love you too.
y'all have a great day and God bless y'all. And remember to always make sure that you're getting stronger and better. God bless you.